really wants it, but someone's going to have to take it after this, it feels as we finally go to pick and ban Mazel. Again, another welcome to the LPL. It's nice to have you here, going for what could be an absolute fiesta to start us off.
Hey, luckily I got my vocal cords ready for the night, so we'll see how it goes as we are diving straight into those picks and bans. We do have Rogue Warriors there on the blue side, OMG on the red. A couple interesting or priority bans at least coming off the board here. We have Rel, Udyr, Lilia for the side of Rogue Warriors, Lucian, Renekton, Nidalee for OMG, and we have some picks already coming through as well. We've seen how devastating the Tristana can be. Rogue Warriors pick it up for themselves. They also get the Hecarim and the Gragas. The other two picks for OMG, at least to start them off, were Kaisa and Alistar.
A lot of engage and dive already drafted here for Rogue Warriors. I want to take a step back though, just look at the bans coming out from OMG, and you're going to see this a lot during the series. Haro's going to get target banned with the likes of the carry junglers. You'll see the Nidalee, you'll see things like the Lilia coming through as well, getting banned away. Even Elise, if it gets to that point, Haro is a big threat, and it is interesting to see that the Hecarim first pick is going towards him. So gonna try draft for the jungle. While you and I were just talking about this, Wuming gets his Zoe, and these are good priority picks for the side of OMG.
Yeah, and setting themselves up with some comfort, some of that viability there, and being able to play through those pieces is going to be super important. As I'm very interested at how this second phase is going to pan out, where we see kind of some of those focuses, because we have seen some very strong picks already picked up, and I'm sure there are a few to follow as TF was banned away by OMG.
Which makes sense, right? When Forge wants to influence this bottom lane by the looks of it, we're seeing the Gragas already. That can be flexed between Kaishuan and Ziv, but a lot of those LPL teams have been preferring it down on the bottom side, especially when we have the Alistar and you get the engage for the engage. Moving forward, though, Rogue Warriors banning away some of the engage on top of what they already have against OMG. And OMG's focus is like, hey, we're getting rid of the global pressures that, again, can influence some of these side lanes.
Yeah, it's definitely trying to tone down the team play potential, maybe looking for more of those singular outplays. But with the way that both these teams are panning out, at least earlier on, I'm excited for the aggression across the board, really, as the last bandits to come through for Rogue Warriors were that Gnar and the Olaf.
You're so innocent, right? You're coming into LPL and you haven't been through the ringer. It's like, I love your passion for this series starting off already. I'm definitely going to need it before I go into this as we get a Skarner, man.
Hey!
And you're right, these picks, they're shifting gear.
They definitely are. Give a shout out to Captain Flowers there with the Skarner pick. He's got to be happy but they're just getting picked up all over the place.
Well, it depends, man. You're happy if you see a good Skarner, right? But Aki, haven't seen this too much in the LPL. Haven't seen him from him yet, so looking for that level 6 mark, and you got a lot of CC chain in the mid lane, setting up priority for Wuming from what I can see, which means OMG putting the basket towards this mid lane.
Yeah, just trying to make sure to get the most pivotal pick for themselves. It could be the Sion going top, and they lock in the Orianna as well, so a little bit more teamfight potential, a little bit more control there in the mid lane.
Yeah, you're going to have a pretty hard time as is, so just going to try and farm up, and the final pick we get is the Aatrox, so going to do well into that Sion lane up in the top side. Just looking across the board, we have a lot of engage, and I like the fact that on the side of Rogue Warriors, we have key ultimates at play. Shockwave with Hecarim as well. The dive capabilities for this squad is really, really nice. You have a solid front line in the Sion, the Gragas for engage/disengage, and this Rogue Warriors lineup really wants to fight in front of these objectives. Good 5v5, while I'll say for OMG, we have nice pick potential here, and I expect Cole to be a part of that in the early game, alongside with Aki getting the roaming up towards the mid lane, because Wuming and Aki, that CC duo at 6, is just going to be so immense, and that's what you want to see from Skarner. Get those picks set up for the early snowball for the Zoe, and get OMG running as this game goes on.
Exactly that, and I am just imagining them setting up some fireworks, getting ready for those level 6s to hit across the board, because we're definitely going to see some spice when they do actually clash, and that's where I find it interesting to kind of dive into the different styles, the different potentials for the early game for both these squads. As you were mentioning, Rogue Warriors a little bit heavier in the teamfight potential, still some early skirmishing possibilities, but I need to see some action early on there from OMG.
Let's also remember that, down in the bottom lane for Rogue Warriors, Tristana has that great level 1, level 2. Who hits the level advantage first has always been a big thing within the league. But I think this is a nice draft to start us off and to welcome you into our league.
Get a lot of initiation, which is exactly what I'm looking for when I'm looking to cast some League of Legends especially. But when we do hit the rift here. It is going to be a battle for the wooden spoon. We've got Rogue Warriors versus OMG hitting the rift. And as we do, it's going to be a potentially slow and early start here for the two sides. I love hearing a little bit of the crowds. Yeah, no, it's so welcoming to hear it in my ears instead of on the broadcast. It's nice.
Of course, with OMG and Rogue Warriors, we are in Shanghai. OMG normally would be in Chengdu, but due to travel restrictions and a lot of teams just playing in Shanghai for the time being, they'll be sticking around in the Hongqiao arena, so a lot easier for crowds as well. I'm not sure how long that's going on, but you should see OMG's arena in Chengdu is actually quite breathtaking. A lot of neon lights. Opened up a couple of years ago. I think actually Raz did a culture shock on it back when he was still in the LPL. And hoping to get to see it one day soon. But we are under Summoner's Rift, and I was mentioning the comps before. Of course, just a bit of pretext. I'm not a color caster, ladies and gentlemen. I learned from some of the best in our league.
What are you talking about? That brain is so big. Come on.
Oh, bro, don't start. In a Rogue Warriors OMG series, I hope it stays small so that I don't have to try and analyze this. But our two teams towards the bottom of the standings, and both of them need a win desperately. We're not expecting playoffs, but again, Battle for the Wooden Spoon feels like an aptly named title for this series ahead.
It does indeed, as we do get this typical farming start for both these junglers, looking to potentially get going at that level 3 mark if they want to. Get the early engage here at the level 1, as you kind of highlighted before we got into the action. Getting some trade there down onto Cold as well.
Yeah, that's a good use of the satchel charge. Remember, Cold will have sustain in this lane, but it is for the 7 minions death, which we're not there quite yet. And battle for level 2 in the bottom lane, something we heavily talked about. Shove coming through here from Betty and Kaisa, so you expect that Eric and Cold will just have to succeed, move back into their turret and accept that. Well, camera's not panning down there, but it is Betty and Kaisa who indeed hit it first, so the wave will continue pushing while junglers on opposite sides of the map to start this one off as well.
And I liked it because Cold and Eric, knowing where they were at in the level differences, backed off, played a little bit more safe, making sure they can't get any early aggression, especially.
Yeah, so they'll sit back and wave, and for the time being, I was noticing jungle pathing. We're actually, again, opposite sides of the map, and I'm not sure you're going to find anything early here as Haro, unless it is towards that mid lane, and find out Wuming before Aki has the level 6. I think it's going to be pretty pivotal for Aki just to farm up and hit that 6 so he can start making plays across the map, especially when we know that Skarner, the stun bot at level 6, with Wuming on Zoe too, is going to be a lot of chain coming in, so I think for Forge has to play respect and past that point, and we'll see how we go from there.
Yeah, and just try to be stable in the middle lane, not give any of those extra leads over, not give them any tools on the side of OMG to really deal around the map with. Because once you give that pressure advantage, once you give the tempo advantage there to the Skarner, I mean, it just gets a lot harder to play on the Rift.
Very true. And remember, you can also use some of the pressure pre-6. I'm talking up that ultimate, but I can still make impact in the lanes. But for now, everything really pushed out, bar the bottom lane. But he has topside control, splits the scuttle. Haro gets the one down the bottom as well. Spires on top of that, and both junglers will be going back. So a pretty standard early game. And I think looking at these two comps, again, it is going to be slow for the first 6-7 minutes of the game. After that, depending on what Aki can find and how he can bring tempo to OMG's lineup. Because I definitely favor Rogue Warriors towards the later game when you have a front line, when you have a lot easier of a composition to execute, and you have so much dive and engage potential. I feel like OMG definitely want to get the ball rolling in the early portions of this game.
Yeah, so we're looking at that level 6 again, just really honing in on that. See it if Aki can really,
we like the number,
become an effort. Yeah, it's a good number, all right? It's a good number.
To be fair,
we do see...
in Chinese as well, 6 is Liu, and Liu is cool. So,
okay.
Yeah. So that the hand
something new every day
signifies it as well. It's like sick. The telephone hand movement. I'm not sure
the surfer bro.
Yeah, surfer dude. Yeah. So actually does mean cool. So level 6 was built for a reason, I guess.
That's very true. Very true. Now we do have the first dragon hitting the rift. We saw a little bit of potential for some early objective control for either side. I wonder who we'll see kind of trek down that way. One thing I have really liked, and you talked about Cold getting active on the map, I've seen Kaishuan be everywhere already. It hasn't come to fruition in a gank or anything yet for him, but just the willingness to be mobile like that is huge.
I think it's a really good read because Rogue Warriors know that Cold wants to get active in this map early, right? You know, we heavily prioritize mid, Wuming with the Skarner available, Alistar to come into play. There's not too much that they can do considering that they're going up against a Gragas in the wave, heavily pushing in Betty's favor, who actually ran as a sizable CS leaders. That's a headbutt pulverize, maybe an engage.
A rocket jump away just for precautions there from Betty.
There's a good disengage, and Shockwave comes in the mid lane. Okay, we're just trading ultis here, I guess.
Just try to see, flesh out the waters a little bit, you know, make sure to dip a toe in, see if things stick. I like the commitment of the ulti early on by Forge too. We talked about him playing a stable mid lane, but you know, he wants to press that pressure a little bit.
Also, just before Dragon comes up as well as Aki, he's not 6 yet though.
Yeah, he's just off the cuff and just a little bit longer.
That minion. There it is. Okay, he has flash as well, so let's remember that, you know, now Wuming already hitting 6 in the wave. He pushes Forge back, and there was some really good trading going on in the mid lane after Shockwave's said and done. OMG using some of that priority just to get this next Scuttle Crab, and you can see already Aki going to have a bit of a CS advantage. We'll actually go in for the invade, so this is pretty good timing as we're utilizing bot again.
Yeah, get a lot of damage actually. That satchel charge is going to be pretty heavy on Cold, but not anything too crazy, and actually getting a beneficial trade there is OMG with that pressure in the bot.
Also in the top lane, mid lane, right? Like this is enabling Aki to invade, picks up the blue buff. Haro actually going to be splitting the map, and there is a lot of dive possibility when you have Gragas, Tristana, Hecarim. So I like this from Rogue Warriors. Depending on what happens here, that's a trouble bubble connecting.
Aki didn't fully commit to that. Didn't expect Wuming to land the sleepy trouble bubble maybe. But hey, the little bit of damage onto Forge, getting some of that pressure on him is going to feel nice. And next time, Aki will be there to ult.
Well, remember as well, Haro was splitting the map on this bottom side, so Aki didn't want to overstep considering that Betty and Kaishuan have had the shove in the lane for the first 7 minutes of the game, and now it will just be OMG coming back, reset from the mid lane after Forge has run out of mana. He'll have to back away. He has TP, but OMG will kind of just reset the map state as Haro goes towards his red, and after losing blue, taking the enemy one, Aki will just clear the rest of his camp. So it has been a pretty slow early game, all things considered, and around these first couple of objectives, I expect OMG to try and set up for a pick, look for maybe the Herald as well on the top side. We'll just have to see as Aki's coming back on the map.
And been a Dragon sitting on the Rift for 3 minutes here. No big presence around that. We did have a little bit of presence just a little bit ago by Rogue Warriors trying to get some vision down around there, but the commitment wasn't there just because of the potential for OMG to make a strike there. Now, as you had mentioned, looking back up to this Rift Herald, big objective for either squad to try and get a little bit of that gold advantage. And we do see a collapse here by OMG around that area, but Haro down on the Dragon knows where to take advantage of the vision control.
Yeah, trading off here when you already see the bottom lane roaming up. Eric's just backed as well, and so for Rogue Warriors, their thought process is that they can get a shove down in the bottom lane with Betty, who's going to push this wave very fast. And this is a play we've seen a lot in the LPL. When teams try and prioritize, send their support up for the Herald, 80 carries of the enemy team will pretty much go, all right, we can trade Dragon, plus we can get solo lane experience, plus we can get at least one of those plates in. So I really like the trade here from RW, considering that they have the scaling composition. They're the team that I prefer in the late game. And they're keeping the game at a stagnant point, if not even with Betty setting up for a potential dive.
Indeed. Let's see if Eric can finagle his way out of here. He does get the TP in. That will be new joining, but he's already dead. They walked away. The TP came in anyways just to follow it up by Ziv, but he's just there for the show of it. And first blood will go over to Rogue Warriors.
And everyone's here from RW. Like, Ziv committing the TP, didn't have to do it. You're right, he was dead at an instant. We saw that dive coming from a mile away, but for RW, committing a lot of resources when actually for New, I didn't see where he used the teleport at the time, but at the very least, he's back at base, and there is no trade for this, so RW, proactive here in the early game.
And, you know, that focus down towards the bot side, having got that objective, having gotten first blood on the bot side, see maybe some more focus towards those objectives. And having already taken a leg up in the Dragon game feels really good, but it's not set in stone, right? You still got to make sure you're putting that pressure around, getting that vision control around the objective. And now, for me, where OMG want to use this Rift Herald, where are they going to try to take advantage of this little extra sack of gold they can get?
I feel like here in this game, you'd probably put it towards the bottom lane. With how Betty and Kaisa have been playing the lane is, man, Forge getting aggressive in this lane while we're chatting. I'd like to see a bot here, Mazel. I think this is the best lane for Rogue Warriors to utilize and give Betty a greater advantage than he already has.
He has tried so hard to get forward. He's going to go even harder on it. He flashes for it, goes forward, does get that sustained damage down. That paddle star barely misses the shockwave under tower. It has all gone awry right now, but you're getting the 1v2 on the side here, and Kaisa gets taken down by Eric.
Don't know how Forge survived there, man, but that shockwave was clutch. OMG committed to the dive finally, and I think the CC chain was really good. Aki gets off the Impale, followed up by the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, but damage doesn't connect, and as he comes out of stasis, as he comes out of the CC, the Merc Treads paid the dividends, and there's no follow-up with the Paddle Star, so it is a 1 kill going over to OMG, but it could have been a hell of a lot worse in hindsight.
Definitely could have, and man, that I just want to highlight one more time, that shockwave was just so well done at the last second. We're going to get a replay of it.
Yeah, so watch again. Again, CC chain was really nice. Trouble Bubble after the Impale, but Merc Treads gets Forge out about half a second from the Paddle Star that would have killed him and made it a clean kill. Meanwhile, Kaishuan's coming up because he's been roaming and matching mid pretty much all game long, but it is OMG's bottom lane who roams as a duo, gets the kill, and Eric now up on the board as well.
It was a really good call by Eric and Cold to kind of, you saw what the potential was there for Kaishuan getting over that Raptors wall there with the body slam, potentially being able to help out Forge. Although he didn't really need help, it was that proactiveness from Eric and Cold that really were able to make that mark.
I don't think I've seen a Zoe versus Orianna lane go this well for an Orianna after getting pressured, after getting the wave shoved out. Forge is doing pretty well here in this early game, even as a CS lead, and I think these trades from Wuming aren't going too well. I just saw a portal jump with a Paddle Star that just didn't hit range because it was mistimed from Wuming. So don't want to criticize, but it could be going a lot better here for OMG, considering that we talked about them needing this early lead, bringing tempo to the game. But Rogue Warriors are playing the exact same as they normally do, tempo themselves.
They are. They're just setting up around this blue. Got OMG trying to make something happen. Actually, it's going to get taken. Oh, man.
Zoe,
Wuming at least making something happen for his squad there.
Yeah, Zoe with Unsealed Spellbook coming into play there as well. So nice to pick up the blue buff when it's so far contested, and Rogue Warriors will just walk away. But Mazel, we're 13 minutes into the game. Gold's pretty even, and I'd say at this point, I'm expecting a bit of tussling around the next dragon because OMG dropping the Herald mid just outside. Want to give the gold to Wuming, which I can respect as the push comes through. Nice Trouble Bubble there as well. And there you go. Actually picked on up, and Wuming to get a bit more gold into his basket to pick up that first mythic.
Yeah, and not exactly where you wanted to see it, Hysterics, but they at least get something out of it, right? And now is the chance for them to kind of make good on some of that farming getting up, at least in gold, trying to find an advantage. And you see Betty down here just constantly pressuring Eric, and that's the power that Tristana really shows. The Buster Shot comes out, was looking for the kill there.
I guess he thought he had more damage than he did, or maybe wanted to force him back all the same. But that was a very real dive possibility with double summoners available. Even if Eric burns his own, there's outplay potential. But anyway, you're going to force him back, and now you get free time in lane. Betty has absolutely destroyed this turret with 4 plates down. Mazel, I have to correct myself from earlier. Of course, I thought Rogue Warriors were the ones trading Herald, but of course they weren't. I think mid was the best option to put it down for Aki when we talked about the win con, being around Zoe snowballing, really utilizing this lane. Giving a bit more gold is going to be important as he now has the Ludens picked up, but Betty just got solo turret plating, man, so I'm worried about this Tristana's progression, as you can see on your screen.
Oh, Tristana is so spooky when she starts getting some gold under her belt. We do see, though, OMG capitalize on the timings and do get their own first dragon. It will be an ocean dragon to start them off. It is a Cloud Soul on the Rift, though, Hysterics. We get some speedy boys. Forge is getting completely collapsed on. It was a shockwave to come out to try and buy some time, but New is going to be the one that gets the kill.
Just roams down first, and Forge doesn't pay respect that no top laner is on the map right now, so an easy collapse here from New, and you can just see the Aatrox damage onto Forge, who is pretty much without items at this point in the game. So that's another win here coming for OMG, and New going to be doing so much better in this lane as he already was. So I feel like here for OMG, you know, these solo laners are going to be really pivotal coming into these next couple of fights. We're expecting to see, you know, second items on the board by the time we get towards that next dragon, or around the next Herald fight, maybe some components in as well. As OMG, you know, one of the solo lanes just Wuming, soloing the turret after Forge goes down to the Aatrox.
Oh, goodness. That's just going to be the tower taken as well. Big chunk of gold going into Wuming's pocket, and really, really good decisions coming out from OMG, at least at this 15-minute mark. It's been really impressive, and taking advantage of Forge having a little bit of confidence so far in this series. He's been playing up. He's been playing in Wuming's face, and they shut that down.
For what was one of the worst laning mid laners throughout the last couple of years, it is always nice to see Forge stepping up to the plate. So a bit of an enhanced start for the Orianna that I didn't expect, especially since nothing has gotten rolling in this mid lane 2v2 for OMG. It has been a really slow early game for Aki. Pulled off that one ultimate we saw, but a kill didn't come of it. He is now picking up the Rift Herald though, so I like the objective control from OMG in this early game. And at the very least, for that Herald, the ability to break up top or bottom, as you're not really going to see it towards mid-inner, unless there's an opportunity that Rogue Warriors give over.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit more into that point of, like, they've been trying mid lane. They have gone there multiple times. They sent almost their entire team there a couple times, and just hasn't really paid off that well. I'm sure they'll continue to focus that way, but now with this second Rift Herald, they've got even more pressure, more choices to make.
Yeah, they really do, and, you know, start enhancing some of this early game we talked about. I think it's important as well we keep our eyes on the timers. Usually these teams will drop down their Herald, add pressure in one of these side lanes, and then set themselves up for Dragon. But Rogue Warriors, man, even though they're stable farming at the moment, I love this gank squad coming through from Eric and Kaisa. They're just always active, and this is something we've talked about with RW. It doesn't matter what comp they run, they will always play proactively. They will always try and set themselves up for success. That's sometimes the bane of their existence in the LPL.
Yeah, a little bit of a double-edged sword there for sure. Sometimes it works out so well, sometimes it doesn't. But they do have Betty and Forge up here on the top side, able to burst down this tower for themselves. They did have the Rift Herald spawned in bot lane, and that's going to do a nice chunk into the lane if they can at least Rogue Warriors stop it from hitting that second tier tower.
But they're not going to, because this is a better trade for OMG.
Yeah.
Look at where the Herald is. Look at the wave setup as well actually coming in. This will get the charge, and Eric cold here. Aki is level 11 too. It won't get the turret, but that at least sets up the side lane here for someone like New, who is already beating down on Ziv as per the matchup requirements. So for OMG, a slightly beneficial trade, even though it was a 1-for-1 in the end. And for Ziv, you know, sitting in the side lane, it is a Sion, so we are expecting him to see more power towards these team fights, power as being a front line. But for now, he's just going to sit there and absorb farm, try and get tankier as we get towards this third dragon.
And something I always look for, especially when we're getting to that mid-game, towards the later game segments, and especially the team fights, when you have a Sion, when you have an Aatrox in the top lane, it's all about those flanks in the team fights, right? It's all about those TP flanks, and I really want to see how they utilize that with this composition that they've gotten. More so on the onus of Ziv for Rogue Warriors, right? You're on this Sion, you're more of that team fight, you want to be that beefy tank in the front line, but as well as being able to get some damage there and some good flanks would be huge. But, you know, face check in a bush is going to end up in Kaisa dying. And that's going to be another kill for OMG. They get the TP just to make sure everything goes well for themselves. And they're going to have to face off the pressure here from Rogue Warriors.
Bro, I may not be an analyst, but it's obvious, right? Pick potential for OMG is so damn high in this game. And that's why I actually preferred this composition, because executed right, OMG can set themselves up for these neutrals. Kaisa going down with his flash still available. Tax not paid yet, but we're going again.
Yeah, they're looking for the engagement here on the Ziv. They do have New on the back. Ziv is getting very, very low. He's going to have to use that Unstoppable to get away. Does end up saving his life, though. So a little bit expended, the ultimate, the flash as well from Ziv. And now you have to be afraid of the second dragon going over to OMG.
Kind of tragic that New flashed after that, trying to get in front of the Sion, but he's too late. As teleport comes through, Dragon will be secure, but Rogue Warriors want the fight.
Haro charged up that devastating charge, but is not going to commit to it. And luckily, OMG are just able to skirt out after getting that dragon.
Two dragons in the back pocket now. OMG still playing out this game better so far after what we've seen. And that pick potential always has to be respected. And that's why you can already see tax being paid by Betty. The QSS tax probably needs to be paid by someone like Forge as well in this game, because that's the targets for Aki following forward. We already see with the huge pick that came down there. Forge gets his first death, and for OMG, it nets them the objective. And now there's 20 minutes in. I feel like we're probably just going to be farming out a little bit more. OMG could be setting up in the fog of war and trying to deny vision, but for RW, farming up here is all they have to do. They're managing sidewaves correctly, holding mid as well, just waiting for that next objective and getting people like Betty and Forged closer towards these 3 items.
Yeah, and we do have these new lane assignments. At least Betty coming to the mid lane, making sure to still continue building up that farm. Has had a little bit of a lead over Eric, but nothing too crazy, nothing to write home about just yet. I do want to go back into the point you were talking about, the Quicksilver Sash, and making sure to pay that tax right now, because you have these 2 high damage potentials there for Rogue Warriors. You have Forge, you have Betty. If they get picked out, that's a big part of your beneficial team fight is gone. And so being able to pay that tax, being able to have that security there is so important.
And even though we look at people like Hecarim, like there's a lot of ways to disengage Hecarim from the high damage carries like Eric and Wuming from OMG, right? We have Aatrox, we have Skarner, we have Alistar. Disengage potential is massive, and they can kind of space out and use that range that Wuming's going to have as an advantage. Also, Eric can skirt into the backline as well and kind of turn a fight. So I think there's a lot of tools in OMG's comp. Again, though, because there is a standard frontline, comp looks easier to utilize from Rogue Warriors than as later this game goes. I do favor RW in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, Wuming does damage, man. He's got a needlessly large rod, and that's Zoe for you with a good game ahead.
Yeah, if that Everfrost would have connected, it definitely would have been a follow-up, I'm sure, if I called. He was waiting, but they don't find out. Look, Forge has to flash over the wall. He was about to get skewered.
Again, tax not paid, has the stopwatch, but the flash immediately gone because Arky runs at him. And another reason why Skarner in a good position this game against the comp he's got ahead. So Forge caught out in rotation as Eric might be the same.
Oh, that killer instinct, though. I love how quickly Haro runs back. That speed on the Hecarim is nice, but another gank not coming to fruition for Rogue Warriors.
This keeps happening, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, Mazel, give us your team fight, man. And then, you know, it kind of drops off because these comps just, you know, what themselves up for early success rather than the picks that we're seeing on screen. And for Rogue Warriors, they don't find it, but again, a lot of pushing power here on the composition at hand. And Rogue Warriors now grouping up mid. There's no objective apart from the Baron, and I love that we're actually setting ourselves up for an A-Ram potential.
Yeah, hey, maybe some NA RAM coming through here, getting some of that extra, you know, potential team fights in the mid lane. I'm looking forward to it. We've been baiting this team fight, this yelling over awesome video games, but you know, it's been OMG who don't want that.
Well, Rogue Warriors do. Betty just jumps in and hop.
Oh no, that's going to be the casket back, and Cold goes down. Here's the TP though. See if he can follow it up. New is going to be in the fight. Does get shockwaved, and the health bars for Rogue Warriors are sustaining strongly.
I love that Rogue Warriors were like, we're pulling the trigger no matter what, and Ziv just ults downtown. A perfect response here from RW as Betty's the one who plays the aggressor in that fight. But a quick pick off as well. This should enable RW to get the shove, get nice reset timer right before the dragon. And I think it's also important to note that Haro picked up the kill. So this is a 2-item Hecarim who is going to add like that intermediary front line that is going to be putting out a lot of damage here in this early game. We'll look again because Ziv's just like, all right, Betty, go in, brother, and I'll follow you. And Ziv just ults in and explosive cast really nice. Everything comes together cleanly.
It's been so interesting to me because both these teams are just full commit onto certain plays, right? We saw the early play by Aki going under tower, trying to make sure they get it here under the tower as well. They get the kill at least this time around, but these teams are really willing to put everything on the line.
We're definitely delivering for Rogue Warriors OMG so far, though. This is half of what I expected, but I will say it's been cleaner than expected so far. Our graphic goes up, Mazel, and you know what that means. OMG want to fight this as Rogue Warriors are in front of the objective first.
They do. OMG could be on soul point here if they do steal away this dragon. They are looking to aggress onto the potential setup by Rogue Warriors. Rogue Warriors a little bit on the back foot here, trying to make sure they can set this up nicely. Haro away from the fight. Aki right on the dragon, but he can quickly get over there. See who's going to go for it. New with that flank we were talking about. They get pulled off of the dragon here. See what they can get the fight into. That's the Onslaught of Shadows in back. The shockwave onto the delivery system, but it doesn't matter because OMG are wiping the floor with Rogue Warriors here. Cold gets out even with the heal, and they're going to take a quick 2 kills and Dragon Soul point.
I thought that was such a bad setup for OMG, considering that Wuming's poke wasn't landing. and bursting down, taking down, you know, finding opportunities for a lot of members on RW is a great way for OMG to start. And after finding 2, moving to Sol Point, they're moving to the Baron.
They don't care. They want to push up the pace of this game. They want to force the hand of Rogue Warriors. And as you said, they're starting up that Baron.
Here we go again. Gragas on the wing. Haro's not up and available though, so smite advantage is there. Aki, or rather Wuming, burns the first one, and Baron's just gone.
And they were thinking about making an attempt at it, but it's immediately new, pulls the aggression out and make sure he's standing in between them and the Baron. And Rogue Warriors make the good call not to fully commit for that one, at least this one time. But they do lose that Baron. They do lose the top tier tower as well.
And now it's going to be a bit of a struggle. And I don't think for OMG, you know, we have really fast split push to take these turrets down. But I can talk about it in a second.
That flank.
This starts with a new flank, but he's caught out, right? Sent in front of the team. Haro's engaged looks good to split them. But Gourd Drinker is still so silly. And so after all the efforts, everything put in from RW into this top laner, he heals up fully. And then RW are like, man, screw this, we're out. And,
wait,
you know,
where did everybody go?
Picking apart one member one by one as well, part of that fight, right? Like OMG, they're like isolating members, and Ziv gets isolated. We saw Haro going into the backline. They can piece by piece take RW apart. And now OMG in such a good position, having the Baron, Sol Point to fight over as well. New's in a very good state here in this game, and it's going to take a couple of members like Haro to stop New and for OMG to stop being so proactive with the Baron that they have a lot of wave clear for, and they can dive these turrets as well.
And what I loved about that is little micro outplays, right? It was the flash forward from the Aatrox to get the sweet spot, to get the Gourd Drinker right there onto the county. It's just so good to see those little micro outplays in this, and I appreciate it, especially because he was the first one there. As you said, you saw his health bar get down to about a quarter there after the initial engages, so I really like it. And now you just see the continuation of pressure. New just all by himself on the bot side, able to take that tier 2.
And OMG, you know, right now, making the map a bit of a 4-1, leaving New in a side lane just to clear out these waves. He doesn't push turrets that fast, but it's going to take Rogue Warriors to respond to him more than just Ziv, as they're using the rest of the Baron buff to push the inner turret, and this is clean so far. Haro's trying for a flank, but OMG have read that bottom lane's the play, and they'll just move in towards an inhibitor turret.
And at this point, it's kind of feeling like a stranglehold by OMG. I mean, they are really putting on this pressure. They're able to make the decisions they want to make and execute on them, and have just been barreling down these tower objectives for themselves.
They'll stop for now, but you're right, you know, pulling Rogue Warriors across the map, and Kaishuan's gone back to base, but obviously OMG don't know this. At the very least, they'll continue pushing in, and even if they don't get an inhibitor turret here, I'm still favoring how OMG are going to play out the rest of this game. Of course, I talked about scaling for RW, so keeping the base in a good position is favorable, but we are moving towards the Sol Point and then towards Elder, an objective that for OMG could really seal the deal on this game 1.
And that next dragon is going to be oh so crucial for Rogue Warriors to stay in this one in a minute and a half. So you got a little bit of time to plan, some game planning going on, some potential talks here between them two, and making sure to get some of that gold under themselves. I mean, you're still sitting on these a couple items there for Tristana, who has been the major point, I feel like, for Rogue Warrior squad in this game so far. And that's where you have to put all your eggs. You have to get them into the Tristana basket.
He was funneled gold really early on. Betty's 40 CS up still, and you're right, you know, if this game goes on, Betty's the person to watch. I think Forge as well had a decent early game after being pressured by the likes of Arky and Wuming. You know, you don't really have as strong as a mid 2v2. Even with Shockwave, I still prefer Impale, Trouble Bubble, the burst of damage that comes out of Wuming. So it feels like Forge has just been left on an island trying to farm up this game and trying to get relevant. He's had decent Shockwaves, and you know, that's what we'll be looking towards as we get towards this next dragon, because Sol Point, you talked about, Mazel, OMG have one dragon away.
They are, and you already see Rogue Warriors know where they're at in the game. They know where they need to set up. They're trying to get all this vision control in front of the Dragon Pit. The thing for me is they have to be careful here. They're committing so many resources down towards this objective that you have New just split pushing away with the TP available for him.
Mazel, you know what I see? He's got TP, you're right. But also look at the control ward in the bush down the bottom side. In fact, he's going even deeper than that. Towards mid, this is a great flanking ward. I'm not sure if it's spotted out, but Rogue Warriors could be walking into a trap.
It could be just that. He knew again on this heavy flank on the bot side. Through this dry bush yet again, seemed like a little bit of deja vu. Haro says, we're not having deja vu. I'm going to reposition myself. Yeah, the Hecarim a little bit away from the fight. The dragon spawn. This is the second time that Haro is behind everybody. And they have spotted him out. They get the Sleepy Trouble bubble onto him, and Haro's just dead. That has to be Soul Point. You get the flash in here, immediately onto Forge. He does go gold, and New has to go gold as well. Eric goes into the middle of the fight, takes down Betty, and will follow it up as well. This is just a smorgasbord for OMG as they will slowly but surely clean house here, and we're able, after this, to take the dragon if they want to.
Wuming may miss his skill shots in the early game, but that trouble bubble onto Haro wins it for them, stops the flank, and Aatrox doesn't die, man. Like, you was an absolute tank. And OMG now, with death time as this large, they can at least get the inhibitor. Haro will be the only person up until Kaishuan. I wonder if OMG are going to go for the end.
I wonder too. I mean, they might just be going for the throat here. They've caught them off balance. They know where they're at, and looks like they're just going to push this minion wave in. Haro is trying to be a distraction. He's just a horse with 4 legs, but he's not going to be able to do anything. He has to watch as his base burns, and OMG are going to clean up a couple more members here of Rogue Warriors, making sure they know the mental advantages in their stick here as the Nexus falls. Game 1 will go to OMG.
What the hell was Haro doing at the end? He was like, I'm coming in for a flank angle, waits until the Nexus turrets are down, and then he literally just runs between. Like, it's just, look at me, look at me. That was
I'm a distraction. He needs the arcade Hecarim skin. All the colors and things.
He was literally just, I don't know, maybe tilt.
I know you want to get a kill.
Maybe thought someone will click on me, but leaves the Nexus wide open. It doesn't matter about those death timers in the end. OMG, I think, had one of the most convincing games. This is my highlight here. I think OMG played their comp so well. They knew exactly what they had to do, which was find picks around the objectives. The pick around Haro sealed the deal. We then see the Aatrox flank coming in again from Ziv. From New. And everything else was tied up nicely. You know, Aki on the Skarner, one of his best jungle performances. So I like this direction for OMG. I've never been positive about this team, which is nice. And, you know, game 1 is a great place to start.
Hey, we're changing the minds already. The decisions there from OMG were what got me. I mean, they knew where to take it. They knew immediately when they had the ball, when to run with it. And it was just such a good, clean decision. They didn't even care about the Dragon Soul. They just wanted to go for the game. And it was that kind of offset of Rogue Warriors, them getting them kind of throwing a wrench into the works, if you will, by OMG, and just continuing to shove that wrench in there and not stop.
Which is kind of crazy because for Rogue Warriors, like, this composition has a lot of disengage. They have a lot of space that can be created with these ultimates that can send back the Skarner, that can send back a lot of the pick potential. They have a standard frontline, and, you know, I was talking about OMG's comp being innovative. I think I preferred it as well, but when you get towards the late game, that composition for Rogue Warriors should just be in a really good place. Very easy to execute. A lot of tools to use with Orianna, with Hecarim, you know, Sion as well. But Rogue Warriors kept forcing the play in the early game when they didn't really have to. They got caught out in rotation, and we got around these objectives where there was actually a lead for OMG. New was in a fantastic position to act as this intermediary front line, and Wuming, Aki did the rest to secure an OMG win.
And it was a lot of that confidence, at least coming out from Aki on the Skarner, being able to get those engagements off. And you just look at the damage done by New, by Wuming, by Eric. I mean, this was a team effort in totality here by OMG. And it shows when you're looking at the stats, and especially looking at that gold graph. They did not stop the train.
No, they really didn't. And, you know, props to, I think this game, you know, a lot of highlight going towards someone like New. New played the game very well. He was in a better matchup against the Sion, but he came into these fights as a bigger impact. And Rogue Warriors lacking any impact themselves, really. A couple of great plays. Forge outplayed in the mid lane, but I don't think Haro on this Hecarim had as much to say as someone like Aki. I mean, look at the damage numbers. When you see Hecarim is under a Skarner, like, you know, sure, Skarner, base tank, does decent damage in the early game, but Haro wasn't really anywhere on the map in that game. He's just swapping objectives, and he never made one of the dives consecutively. We saw it bot once.
Yeah.
Remember, Mazel? We saw it bot and we're like,
Yeah.
nice, clean start for RW.
This is amazing.
But the rinse and repeat wasn't there. The setup wasn't there. And I think for RW, you know, back to the drawing board to maybe if you want to play an aggressive composition that needs snowball, that needs early access, then draft for it instead of pulling out some of these very passive solo lanes.
Yeah, and that's where I was so ready for this Tristana just to be this huge carry in the game. I bet it was popping off. You could see the damage potential there, but it came to those decisions around the team fight, and especially some of those positionings around the Dragon Pit where they were caught in a flank, but they were trying to flank themselves, and just things didn't work out for them.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, right? I'm sorry, it's very hot in here, and I realize, you know, so there's no road noise. I've had to close all the windows, so... Have you noticed today, Mazel, I've wore the Rift Rivals shirt because we're talking about Rogue Warriors 2018. So
I love it. I love it. You got to stick with the moment, right? Stick to the positivity.
Even though this is 2017, I think this is Dalian, but LPL still won that year. Just saying.
Hey, that's all that matters. Just saying. Just throw that out there. Well, it was a very, very fun game number 1. OMG coming out on top over Rogue Warriors. We'll have to see if Rogue Warriors can respond here, as we are going to be going to game number 2 after a